must be told.
No. Maybe this is not God. Maybe that's the devil talking. So let me. God in the hater like, yeah, please. I said, God, I need you to do something. Yeah. That would get my attention. You know. I mean, God, his phone. Wow. Then I heard, boom, and screaming. My son, Leonard, had just fallen off the couch and was on the ground just screaming. And I said, man, I was on the phone with the guys. I said, I gotta let you go. And I let him go. And my son was okay, fine, but it's just God nudged him off so that he would get my attention. So I knew then. And so that was the end of that. I stopped trying to fight it. I said, God, obviously you have something for me. God said, I have something for you, but you're too far away from me to get it. And so I began to wake up at 3 a.m. every morning, seek the Lord's face, just finding out what he had for me. And God spoke the EX Ministries message to me. Ended up having a vision. God began to show me, what heavy metal music was doing at the time. This is probably 88, 89, somewhere around. Heavy metal, they biting the bats' heads off, drinking blood, urine, all that stuff in the concerts. Basically just devil worshiping, drawing the pentagrams on them, the skulls, wearing the evil stuff, wild hair, craziness, piercing themselves all up, tatting themselves everywhere. All of those things God showed me began to show me that that's what they were doing. He said, this is the enemy manifesting in a generation. This is the enemy showing his presence. This is what demons do. When they get in you, they outwardly express themselves by the things we do to ourselves. And so the demon, he began to show me that. And then he said, but it's coming for the African-American kids. They're going to become devil worshipers. And I was like, Lord, because we, black people, I'll be real, back in my day, we were scared of the devil. Now, we would sin some sins.
Yeah.
But we didn't think the devil was a part. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Absolutely.
It's almost like you would try to distance yourself from it. I remember.
Yeah, but we don't understand who God says are the devil's nation. That's one thing with us people. We keep in denial. We already know it's not us. So it must be the others.
Get a satanic Bible and rip it up and then jump in the car and smoke and drink and cuss. But we never related to, the devil ain't finna get the glory for my...
Not on purpose.
Right. Even though he is, we're not going to get him credit.
Right.
Because we didn't want to ever get too far away from God.
That's it.
We had these Christian backgrounds. Back then we had a Christian foundation somewhere.
Yep.
And so we didn't want that, but God began to show me that a generation was going to raise up because of fatherlessness, because their fathers were imprisoned. They were going to begin to express themselves, because you don't have to know your father for that to be what your father sins to be passed on to you. You don't even have to know it.
That's true.
And he didn't have to be around. The best example I have for that was, can I just go? Come on. Okay.
Be free.
So I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I did the Truth Behind Hip Hop at a church. And so we were having an altar call, and I remember a lady came up and she was,
You could have 1 million followers and still not be able to pay your bills.
Over 1 million creators and brands are growing faster.
She might have been Nigerian. No. She was Zairian.
Okay.
From Zaire. But she came up and she said, I want you to pray for my son. I said, okay. And I looked at him, and immediately the Holy Spirit said, ask where his father is. So I said, well, where's his father? She said, his father's back home in their tribe. I forgot which one it was, Tutsi or Hitu, one of those. But he's in his tribe. She said, but he's possessed by his father's spirit. I said, what do you mean? What? She said, when his father dances, tribal dances, he uncontrollably dances. So whenever his father over there, it could be any time his father dances, he dances.
Wow.
Really?
And then he started moving.
like this. And she said, he's about to do it. And the boy just started dancing. Yeah. And so ended up with the power of God casting that spirit out. But that's when I realized the connection that a boy has with his father. It's beyond what we know. It's not, it's not just you give birth to someone, but you actually give more than that. You give you give of yourself to that boy. So whether you're around or not, he's going to be influenced by you. And that's what ended up happening with prison. Guys went to prison. And so when their fathers were in prison, they began to express themselves like their father. So they wore the do-rags in the streets, because in prison, the do-rag represented the hair. That's women's hair. That's the closest you're going to get to women in prison. Come on. Then they walk around shirtless, tat themselves all up, sag their pants, show their underwear, all of these different things that were happening with the hip-hop subculture. God began to tell me that it would become the norm. It would become the norm. And so, that vision, God began to just kind of nourish that vision. This is after 3 years of me seeking him. He began to show it to me. And then I spoke the message. I remember on Halloween, I spoke the message. I had some magazines and I had some CDs, and I began to show people, the Bone Thugs and Harmony, which had the Mr. Ouija backwards message, which they just came out and talked about. I don't know if you've seen the video.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah. I think it was Busy Bone, came out talking about the Mr. Ouija and all of the stuff, just confirming everything from way back then. But I was showing people how you hold it up to the mirror and read it, and you speak into your own soul. That's what it was. It was written backwards. And you hold it up to the mirror, and it was a confession that you speak. And kids were speaking it. And so by kids doing that and kids, buying into this culture and this idea, they opened up our community to that spirit. Wow. And so now when you see young black men, they look totally different now. But God showed me that way back then. We're talking in the 80s. People thought I was crazy. No way. Black folks ain't gonna worship the devil. No way. They're not gonna get the pentagram and the Baphomet and throwing up the signs, and no way. They're not gonna, grow their hair out long and the locks and stuff, and the earrings and tatted up and stuff. That people, because nobody could see it, it just did not exist.
And then you got the boule niggas with the so-called walk this way. See, it was all blindsided. Good thing God got the unborn children out here. We're here for the revolution.
They thought I was crazy, but God trusted me with that information to the point. There was no social media back then. Nope. But he took me all over the world.
I was born
all over the world.
So we were in our bubble, so we don't know how big X Ministries got and the message got. You were traveling
all over the world. It was the biggest black message at the time. Like, I couldn't go into a town without seeing a magazine or something on the shelf with my picture on it. Like, it was like that. Oprah Winfrey and Russell Simmons and Steve Harvey and Tavis Smiley, all those guys called me for interviews. Like, it was that big. I turned them all down because God didn't want me. The message was for the church. Right. I'm not going on Oprah's show and talking about truth behind hip hop. Right. Talking about the truth behind Oprah. Right. So it was never about, it was never about me going out and just trying to get famous. It was always about the church being warned, because when the spirit comes in, it's going to affect the church. It's going to it's going to be birthed in the kids in the church, the youth. And then those youth are going to grow up and become pastors. And they're going to be expressing the hip hop culture from the pulpit.
Oh my gosh.
And then you have, total debauchery. And so that was God's warning. He was warning the church what was coming.
You're saying a few things, and I don't want to jump all around, but you talk about hip hop culture, and there was in the messages you were talk about it's not just the music, but everything from the dress, the things, the language, and all of that. When you go back, when you look at the origins of hip hop, some would say, but there was a time though that hip hop culture wasn't what it is now. Like, was hip hop corrupted, or was hip hop always on its way towards corruption?
It's always been
Like,
corrupted.
was it good at the foundations?
No.
Meaning, if we were to go back to where
It had
hip hop
good
was at its
intentions.
inception, would it then be something that could be acceptable?
Not at all. Hip hop was corrupt in its creation because the creators and founders of it were corrupt. So African Bambaataa went to Africa and he learned the ways of the Zulus. The Zulus are into ancestral worship. He brought those spirits back and began to make raps and beats about how those spirits, how powerful they were. That's what Planet Rock is about. You know, Planet Rock, don't stop, rock the planet rock. That's basically false god worship rock, because the planets into the Zulus were considered gods. And so from the beginning, it's been corrupt. When I was trying to explain it, people was like, oh, no, it's just beats. No, it's not beats. If you know anything about frequency, you know that it's never just beats. It's never just music. Music carries the heart of the author that created it. And the best example of that is in the Bible. King David, when Saul was troubled by the evil spirit, David just played. He didn't have to sing. He played, but because of his heart and his disposition, the spirit came and soothed the evil spirit and chased it away. That's because of who David was, a man after God's own heart. It's different when he plays versus,
exactly.
They didn't just go looking for
Certain
anyone
needs.
to play. It had to be someone with the right spirit. And if you know anything about frequencies, especially mastering houses and different things, they're able to put things in music to give music, flight, so that this particular music is meant to change a person in this way or that way. I'm gonna tell you something now. This is a tripped out story. I was speaking in Topeka, Kansas, and Topeka, Kansas is considered the center of the United States. So I'm speaking, I'm doing the truth behind hip hop. And as I'm talking, there's a guy in the audience mouthing all of my words with me. Yeah, it was weird. He's mouthing what I'm saying while I'm talking. And I'm just looking at him so I'm like, God, what is this? Do I need to stop the message and deal with this? And God said, no, just keep going. So I kept going. But every time I looked over at him, it's almost like he knew what I was about to say, or right after I said it, he mouthed it.
Uh-huh.
Probably looked worse to me than what it really was. Because I'm up, you up speaking, you'll know hey, do I need to deal with this or what?
Yeah.
And so after I finished, I did an altar call. He was the first person. He popped up, he jumped up, he ran up there, stood up there. He said, hey man, let me tell you. He said, I work for Africa Bambaataa. He said, I'm a part of the Zulu nation. He said, I moved here to Topeka, Kansas because this is the center of the United States. So the music I play here reverberates throughout the whole United States. He said, I'm positioned here. He said, I got records. He said, I got a record if you want to get a...
Wow, the Wizard of Oz, Kansas. Connections, correlations, this is all witchcraft.
You can play this record. He said, I got a record if you're sick in your body. You can play these records. All of these frequencies are set in a way where they can do various things to a person. I was like,
Crazy. Well, divination never works on
There's a
Jacob.
better way to make
That's
changes
the
to the
word.
works.
So now these people can
like,
affect
what
real-
in the world? So he went and
real
got
true
all those
believers.
records, crates and crates, probably 1,000 records. Crates filled the whole stage. Prayed with him, cast the devil out, believe God with him, all of that. We leave the church, and the pastor said, no, leave all the records. Just leave everything here for the, we'll deal with it later. And then we were out eating somewhere, and the pastor said, man, we might need to go check the church. We went back to that church, all those records was gone. No sign of break-in, the law, nothing was triggered, nothing. All those records were gone.
What do you think happened?
I think Satan took them back. I think Satan took them.
There was no entry. It was.
But y'all don't understand. When he's saying he thinks Satan took him back, the feds work for you know who. They took it back. There's a whole lot of minions in this world working for this fool.
Locked. It was locked. It was locked. My wife, she's here. She was there. We couldn't figure out what happened. It's just a mystery.
And it was crates.
I mean, so many records, it would fill this room up. Yep, baby. Yeah, they filled this room up. And they were all gone. But that's how serious. So I said all that to answer your question.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing. We didn't know.
Oh my gosh.
We didn't know what they were doing. We didn't know the spirits that they were tapping into.
Oh my gosh.
We didn't know that they were gatekeepers. So we didn't know they were opening our youth up for what we're seeing right now. Now, what we're seeing right now is a generation that could care less about anything.
Wow.
Entitled, hatred, wrath, vengeance. That's what we're seeing. And
also, God got the light, the children of the light on the earth to confound these wackos and their so-called masters.
Expressing it by the way they look. They tat themselves up. Boys grow their long hair out in rebellion. You know, and I tell people, black folk, they do that. I mean, the hair and this, that. Man, God specifically gave us a design he gave us gender markers.
Yes.
And he said, men, nature teaches us that men have short hair, women have long hair as gender. That's gender markers. That's how we mark our genders. That's being totally defied now.
What do you think about the feminization of men in hip hop? Would you have imagined that today you got rappers wearing skirts and dresses and they said they hiding guns in their dresses?
No, I said that back then. I knew that back then. It's in my videos back then.
Mother's not a
yeah, Tupac put on a top and then tied it under like halter, and then showed thug life, and then tied a bandana to the front, and then pierced his nose. It's a total woman. Ain't no thug. That's a jailhouse thug that's been passed around.
What if, when uncertainty is high, heck, when chaos is high, it's actually the best time to start and do your own thing?
The question you got to ask yourself, I think, is when things look out of control.
Well, you can read it like that.
That was the look. Cameron in the pink, fluffy, they were defying the gender markers. Because once you confuse the genders,
oh my God,
you stop procreation, you stop marriage, and you make the youth question, their orientation.
Oh my gosh.
No, but Tupac fought it. Tupac made sure that he was one of the only ones that understood how to fight the evils. And he put it all in the word. His word is harder than a diamond. So forget the devil's BS, little African Bambata crap that these white folks learning. It ain't nothing. My great-grandfather studied white stone, understood white stone, and God gave him that gift because God transferred that gift to me. So good luck to this foolish hip-hop weirdo thinking he can get anybody. God's got the children of the light here, and we ready. Rebuke them all.
So you now have a desensitized youth. The youth are desensitized to these things, and now you ask a young kid, 90% would say, there's nothing wrong with this, there's nothing wrong with that, because it's in the music. I kissed a girl and I liked it. It's all in the music. So back to hip hop in this way. You were saying a lot of stuff at that.
Study via IUIC. This is a spiritual warfare, and it's about to come to an end for these wacko.
But I think right now is when we're seeing the worst of it.
Yes.
Back then, it seemed to be more implicit.
There was a warning. I had to search for stuff back then. Like I had to catch them slipping. You know, H to the is O, V to the is A was like the most popular song when I first started doing this. And the Lord spoke to me and said, he's spelling my name, Hova. He's calling himself Jehovah God. Nobody caught it. We just H to the is O, V to the is A. That's the anthem. Get them hands up. It was just, you know, that it was ingrained in the music, but because it was to a beat, folks didn't stop to pay attention to the message that was being spoken. And so I started finding the Baphomet worship. I started finding the pentagrams. I started finding the things, the Def Jam stuff with Rick Rubin and those guys, all the devil worship, and then what's his name, Russell Simmons, you know, worshiping a transcendental meditation and
New Age.
and bringing that stuff into it, and now Beyonce bringing Yoruba and all of these things into it. So, you know, during her concert, she was, you know, with the Oshun and, you know, all of that. That's the Yoruba stuff. So I've been, you know, talking.
It's just you black Americans that was not born in the motherland. I was born in the motherland. I came here at 10 years old. God got some of us out here that are born in the motherland, that came here early because of whatever warfare that was happening over there, all to confound these assholes that are here to preach the demon way of possessing America, black America specifically. But God's got the light here. And within hip hop, God intervened. But many people didn't see it, including Craig Lewis. He didn't see it either. You can say one of these brothers was acting as a woman and whatnot. No, this was God in the flesh trying to confound hip hop and do the atonement. And he did. He was killed in the house of his friends. It's not about what y'all think. The word is bigger than any divination.
About it since part one of the Truth Behind Hip Hop. I'm at 14 now. I have 14 parts of this message, and each one of them reveals an in-depth part of the hip hop culture, what they are doing when they do what they do. So we're not talking about something that got corrupted. We're talking about a tool. It's always been a tool. And I'm gonna talk about beats. I make beats. I make music, man. I can make some beats. It's not about beats. It's about what you attach to it or what you're using beats for.
It's not even about the beat. It's about the word. So a lot of these guys are still in the dark-ish.
Let me ask you this. One of the most shocking things that you were sharing was when you started to deal with Michael Jackson.
Word. It's not about
that
beats.
was when I've never forgot. In fact, it was the Bone Thugs. I remember Bone Thugs. I remember Jay-Z. But Michael Jackson, that one is the one that threw me. Do you look back at that and say, hey, maybe I was going too hard. Maybe I was reading into it.
Well, they used some of it, my research in his court cases, so I don't think I was going too far. Yes, sir. Yeah. Well, and it was what God revealed to me that he was doing. And not just him, but anyone who, you know, submits to the Aleister Crowley's, you know, teachings. Because he taught musicians how to channel an old one, Nephilim, old one, to become famous. And that's what people don't realize. Like, you know, and if Jay-Z or somebody walks in a room.
And even Michael Jackson fought. It's a spiritual fight, y'all. They're going to try to get any one of us into things without our knowledge and wisdom of God. But the truth of the matter is, it's God doing it to test us, to not fear death, but fear God. And life is real, and God is alive.
People just faint or gasp or
and a lot of people are already dead.
Beyonce walks in a room, oh my, you know them homosexuals.
Yeah.
You know how they do the Beehive folks? They just, "Ooh, ooh." And you wonder, like, because of music? You know, the band director plays at the school. Ain't nobody screaming for teacher Willie that teaches the choir. You know, he got some nice music, but nobody's screaming and falling out. There has to be something else. Where there is something else, these guys are taught by Aleister Crowley and the Law of Thelema and those things that he was into, talking to a spirit called Lim. He learned how to channel spirits from the flood. And so there are, you know, through blood sacrifice, through pedophilia, through all of these things, these artists can welcome one of those old ones. Now, who are the old ones? These are the spirits from the angels that came down in Genesis 6, came down, mated with men, created beings. Those beings, God flooded the earth to destroy them. Some of them were 30 feet tall. Now, you know, if you got a 30-foot tall being, he's going to get everybody's worship, you know. And so these guys were used, I say guys, but these spirits were used to, or these Nephilim were used to getting praise and worship. They were gods, you know, like Greek mythology and Roman mythology and even Yoruba mythology. These are all superhumans with superpowers, where they were half human, half angelic from another realm. Well, God drowned all of them during the flood.
That's right. For all you so-called tall kids out there, like my son that's probably going to be very tall, Emmanuel, I'm doing this for you. You're 14 years old now. You've been keeping away a little bit as if your mother's raising you too much. But I'm your spiritual father, and God is going to bring you around me in order to bring more truth out of you. Because you are of Nigerian background with the mother, and your mother doesn't understand truth. And I'm doing this so that eventually you watch this. If I'm not around you much, you must find me. Because there's a lot of things. He's going to be about maybe 7 foot and up. Because God said they will try to worship you, but do not bite into their worship, because they're all devils. God will have to judge. So that means just listen to the Moses. That's who we are in this world. Moses.
That's what the flood was for. That's why nobody could get in the ark with Noah, because everyone's blood was contaminated by this that had happened. And so nobody could get on the ark but Noah and his family, right? And so those, when they lost their bodies, their spirits were hybrid. So they can't go to heaven. They can't go to hell. They roam the earth. And that's why the Bible said they roam in they look for dry places. They're roaming the earth, and they're looking for hosts. That was the creation of demons. They're not fallen angels. They're actually spirits, disembodied spirits. And so they're looking for bodies. Well, Aleister Crowley, Madame Blavatsky, those people that studied the Law of Thelema, those people that studied the mystic arts and some of the lost books of Solomon, which, you know, my part 14 of Truth Behind Hip Hop, I go in depth about Solomon. There's a lot about Solomon God showed me. Very interesting guy, to say the least. But they read his books, they get into his mysticism, and so they're looking for bodies. Well, Aleister Crowley, Madame Blavatsky, those people that studied the Law of Thelema, those people that studied the mystic arts and some of the lost books of Solomon, which, you know, my part 14 of Truth Behind Hip Hop, I go in depth about Solomon. There's a lot about Solomon God showed me. Very interesting guy, to say.
Oh, believe me, God already commissioned the script that's written already about the truth about King Solomon. The story will be told in real time. Terrence Howard and others, we're calling you. Audition. This is not Hollywood. This is Historywood.
The least. But they read his books, they get into his mysticism, and it taught them how to control spirit.
Because you don't understand. There's 2 H in hip hop for a reason. So we all about the first H. History wood, hip, not hop, not the bunny BS about follow the white rabbit. Hell no. Get behind thee, Satan, and go. Rebuke ya.
And welcome spirits in and become a host for them.
Oh my God.
Well, when these spirits that used to get that worship get in a person, now that person becomes polarizing. He walks in a room and everybody's like, oh, and music can't do that. A song, like if I release a song, that can't make you look at me that way. If I'm in a movie, that's not going to make you faint and pass out when you see me. There is a spiritual side of this because they've channeled an old one, and depending on which one it was, that's the level of, a power that they're able to.
Well, Greg Lewis, so did the king. The king channeled an old spirit that he brought into the earth as his son. And believe me, the king, that is the father of spirits. Because he's the father of spirits, no matter what. He controls good spirit and bad spirit and evil spirits. He made them all. And he gave the son to make his own version and control them. So that means hip-hop is the courts.
Operate with, as musicians and artists and different things. And so,
Now that leads into a very powerful conversation.
There's an identity theft that happened with hip-hop that we're not seeing. These fools, just like the identity theft that happened with the Bible, that we're now realizing these fools want to be us, and they want us to be them. Hell no. Saga.
About idolatry and celebrity, right? So just because you're saying this is more than just music.
Yeah.
And to be honest, right now the conversation is now spanned into the movie industry. You see this movie, Sinners just came.
It don't matter what y'all think, man. This shit is bigger than hip-hop. We don't mean bigger than hip-hop for these devils, and these devils got to dissolve. That's what Pac said. So you see that? It's bigger than hip-hop, meaning it's bigger than hip-hop. It's the word. It's the holy word that will take out any demon any day. Words harder than a diamond. Words harder than
and it's
diamond.
same stuff.
Yeah, same stuff. Yoruba,
yes.
Michael B. Jordan, his mom did some
them
ceremony
idiots are
on
little
him, so
demons with
he's
no
a Yoruba
understanding.
priest. And then they brought it.
If you're in the Nigerian religion, how dare you bring your Yoruba BS over here? Or bring it to any Sierra Leonean. We'll put you guys into subjection you wouldn't even understand. Because Sierra Leone is the difference. We are the diamonds in Africa. But word is harder than a fucking diamond. You know what that means? That means God is a brother that is higher than us in terms of the Sierra Leonean or the Black Americans that are in the truth, not the so-called Nigerians that are not in the truth and the others that are following these other Yoruba weirdos. There's 2 sets of black people in this world, just like Double H, hip-hop. There's the hip and there's the hop.
Real voodoo, they did this movie up with some devilish stuff. And people don't realize when they watch things like that,
Why do you think these clowns in the 60s try to take the word hip about hippies? No, they try to distort the truth and have this sort of misunderstanding of the curse that hip hop is going to have to be used to break hip hop. And it's already happened. The atonement is already done. The Bible is a true book, y'all. Watch the destruction of the hops. That's right. Beer hop, you get it? The people that make beer are hoppers. Yeah, hopper.
Some people can watch it and it won't do anything. Yep.
Exactly.
But some people can watch it and have an open door.
Nothing gets
Yes.
done to us. children of the light.
And it changes
Let's believe
everything.
that. Demons run when they see us.
So with this,
And I've witnessed it.
how do, just as believers, as leaders, how do we avoid the trap of celebrity? You, to many, were celebrity. You're
We're going to speed this up. Greg Lewis, yes, you're not saying something new. Nothing new under the sun. We're going to speed it up, but celebrities are clowns. That's why the king had to come through and affect it. But most people didn't see how the king used Moses in Egypt. Now we're in spiritual Egypt. He used Moses first. I'm here to testify. Yes, I know the king. I know the face of the king. And I seen him in hip hop at a crucial time, 93, 94. And I knew he was 2 years away from his death because he was mentioning it so much. And believe me, he accepted it gladly because he knows death ain't real. They're just fake people that just bleach their skin like Michael Jackson, so to speak, meaning death is just white people. Meaning their foolishness with their economy makes them don't have life. They don't know God.
person that is leading, you have a voice, people look to you, they respected you. I did a poem about this, and I talk about idols don't create themselves. We worship them, and they receive that glory. So it's a two-way street. An individual that is in position, right? They have a responsibility.
Why do you think what Michael Jackson did with Thriller? He brought the dead back to life in a sense of, unfortunately, he was the bridge. Michael Jackson was the bridge of hip hop. And most people don't realize that. So he brought that. That's why his mother said, why did you do the devil's work? You're supposed to be doing God's work, because God was about to come through. And Michael Jackson passed because he fought for his children of Israel, true Israel, until the king came through and took it from there and did the atonement for what was written for our time is written for our time. What was written for time is written for our time. Many people don't get it, but you must study via IUIC. Don't delay.
And the individuals that are giving that glory, they have a responsibility. So what would you say to believers that find themselves in the space, in the tension of, it seems like people are elevating me to a place that I'm not supposed to be?
Well, some of it can't be avoided because when you carry a mantle, people will admire that.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the keys, and just for me, is making sure you're secure.
That's it.
I teach that all the time. Make sure you're secure.
And that means spiritually, not economically and all this stuff, because people don't get it. For the love of money is the root of all evil. For the love of your lust for money is why many of you will perish. And it's not a good or bad thing to perish, but make sure you fight the good fight and rebuke all the bad spirits around you, and don't love the money to go into a game that will get you in the sodomization stage.
And who you are. So it's not about what you do. You're a human being, not a human doing.
Ooh.
If you're a human doing, then, you're fed by, you're driven by.
Why do you think Nas was one of the truest hip-hop artists as well? He never really got in that. He was one of the children of the light. That's why the king spoke to him and said, all right, no problem. And they made up in terms of understanding that, there's not many of us. So, like it says in the Bible, evil communication corrupts good manners. That's all these clowns are messing with the Yoruba crap. Just like the idiot Nigerian music these people do sometimes. It's like, stop trying to do music. Ain't nobody care. But they get famous off of saying baby words. Baby, come down, come down. Balaga, go do that, go do. Get the hell out of here. Go back to school with your foolishness. You go make money, you go build a mansion in Nigeria, you never pave the streets or even fix the community. You're a schmuck clown on wheels.
You're driven by likes and views. You're driven by subscribers and all of these things with this wicked internet social media system, which is, it's on the hourglass has been turned over on this.
That's why the mad director's coming through, y'all. We making short films that's gonna denounce, defect, and dehumanize the hoppers. That's right, the demons out of hip hop. That means hip hop will not be the same. It will just be history pop. History time. That's history pop. So only the hip will be taken. The hop will be left behind. So if you're part of the hop, you will not be in New Afri Nation. You would be in, literally, in America, which is going to be burning from a distance.
Social media, like we have very little time on this platform we're on even right now. This is about to take a drastic turn.
What do you mean by that?
Wow.
I mean that it's gonna get to the place to where AI is gonna begin to alter content.
Oh my God.
Is this one of the things that the Lord's been showing?
Yes, sir. 100%.
I knew that. I just wanted to bring it out of you. I was like, there's something.
You knew that, but you're part of it, okay? Putting too much of your image will make them get a real depiction of your AI, making you do pornography and all this crap they want to show your parents, your people, and all these people to do based on you. But if you don't put much images out there, I'm guilty of putting my images out there too. Don't matter. They got everybody. But make sure you don't get famous on other people's account. Get famous on your account and let them not find you. That means pray, study, apply, and keep a distance. And don't take any paycheck from these clowns, because YouTube can use the monetary system as a paycheck way to open up your spirit to see who you really are. We're watching you, YouTube. We got you. And God's got you on suppression mode. So it's coming. As much as you want to be progressful, YouTube, you must listen to the children of the light, or otherwise there is no progress, but just decline.
God's been giving them about AI, but I don't know what you're going to say.
Yeah, I just did a video, Error Man 5, where I talked about AI and its origin, where it's from, how it was created, and those things. But yeah, we're on the last leg of this. It's about to shift, and we're going to see a big shift. It was the devil's plan to pull everybody out of the church, put everybody online, so that Yep,
but what God meant for good, the devil meant for evil. But God always has the upper hand. Sucker.
Yeah.
It's for the word to spread.
Everybody
globally.
Forced through the bottleneck of the internet.
That means Black Jesus will take away death in this so-called white Jesus. That's death. Y'all gonna realize the truth. It's like hearing a sound like you're hearing. It's just gonna be beaming at you to wake up, whether you're Latino, Black, or you're native, original, people that's with us, that's Black. You're gonna wake up, because the time of the end is here now, and hip hop is the court. And no matter what, the hops, not people in the motherland, but the hops, meaning the devil worshippers, gotta go. The rock stars or whatever the crap they want to call themselves. We know rock took over hip hop trying to collect money, but you got your money, okay? Caesar, give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. For it's just fake BS like him. He's a fiat Caesar.
That was all planned. Like, why did that happen? Why were we all forced there? Why did it become so easy to be without a ministry, be without a church, be without a leader, be without authority, be with...
Caesar is like a rat that I killed last night or early morning. I woke up to a rat rattling. And this rat's been running around the crib. I don't know where it came from. It was like some kind of Yoruba BS demonic sort of way of doing something. But I laughed. I got the rat on video. I'll put it on YouTube. Y'all can check it out if you watch this video or listen to this. I caught the rat with my video camera. The rat looked right at the camera. And then I said, I rebuke you. And then the rat ran off. And then what happened? 7 hours later, I killed the rat. It was so epic. I wish y'all would have seen this. And the rat is a symbol of these clowns that are trying to affect all of us in ways of simplicity with YouTube and all these ways of trying to get into our lives. But they don't realize we are grown. Through hard times, we grow. So no matter who you are, you don't understand God's plan, you will fall.
God's church that he left. Jesus left the church and the church age, and it will last until he returns. It's not gone. You know, now some preachers might be gone, you know, some leaders, but it's not gone. But the devil knew, if I can suck everybody out and get everybody here and then break that, what do we have? And so, yeah, we're on borrowed time.
I think about the garden and how the enemy tempted Adam and Eve with knowledge. Forbidden fruit was really access to a knowledge, and they coveted this knowledge that they did not have. I compare AI to that a lot because,
of course, AI is hidden knowledge, but God also affected it.
It's hard for us to imagine a lot.
The problem wasn't knowledge.
People don't understand. There's two forms of knowledge. AI is bringing those two forms of knowledge that's been collected throughout the world. Nothing new under the sun. But these evil hop or people that are stupid that want to go towards the foolish knowledge will go into the dark. And people that want to go into the light knowledge will gain AI favor in a way of God downloading stuff and ideas and ways and words and things that we will be saying and using and building, that we will trample this kingdom down in the midst of building. Watch the 2H story that will be done very soon, for it is written, and it shall be done.
The problem was that it was knowledge apart from the instruction, the spirit, the leading of God. And so I look at AI as accessing knowledge.
And by the way, AI is not artificial intelligence. It's in the Bible. There was somebody named AI in the Bible, and he is what they're trying to mount this AI knowledge from, but really because they want you to check the Bible so you think AI is to be trusted. No, you got to be in the Word. You got to be in the true Word of God. You got to understand Jesus is black, and you got to know your people and your community for you to understand how to use AI accordingly to heavenly wishes.
Void of spirit. And if we get so consumed, like people are looking, should I date my boyfriend? Here's his traits. Would he be a good match for a match for a husband for me? I'm gonna stop praying and I'm gonna lean on this. We're so used to, if I type it in Google, it's gonna give me the answers. It knows much more than me. It's access to the world. It's far more superior than my intellect. There's nothing more. I think more, there's a connective or...
This is why we're doing, are you smarter than the AI? That's why we're doing this on the street. We're going live to different people. Are you smarter than the AI? And in the midst of this, we're raising funds for charity to help build autonomy. Because we have no time for these clowns to be dwelling with us anymore. The children of the light must separate themselves from the children of the darkness.
Metaphorical connection between what happened in the garden and what we're seeing now with artificial intelligence or this forbidden knowledge that we all now have access to at our fingertips?
Well, and it's knowledge from the flood. So those spirits that built that antediluvian age, which some call Atlantis because it was flooded, the city underwater, all of that. The knowledge they had was far superior to what we have now. People look at that and think of dusty sandals walking the streets. No, God destroyed a metropolis. I mean, it was a thriving. They knew everything. They were doing gene splices and DNA splicing, and if you do your research, and I don't recommend a lot of extra biblical stuff for people who don't, aren't there yet. I'd say let teachers do that.
Yeah.
God has teachers.
Come on.
That's right.
Come on.
Teachers.
Come on.
He gives authority to certain people
There you go.
to teach. Everybody ain't a teacher. God has preachers. He has people that can rightly divide the word, and everybody can't.
IUIC.
Everybody can't do that. So
Check
I
them
don't
out.
recommend you go read the book of Enoch.
Yeah.
If you, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Just
Ain't
know
for
it.
everybody.
That's
Those are the
that's
But
only
you're so
others.
right. I mean, they still
They're
can't figure out how they
actually
did the pyramids. They still can't figure out.
Yeah, and so all of that, all those things that they created back then, the Bible says, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it also be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. What is he talking about? He's talking about in the days of Noah. He said they were marrying and giving into marriage. Well, that was the angels coming down and having sex with the women is what he's describing. And so that era, when a woman has knowledge from other dimensions, if you sleep with somebody, you become one with them. So then the women were empowered and the males were second guessed. That's how civilization got destroyed. What's happening now?
The weak males. God ain't gonna make
The
that
angels
happen.
came down and gave women knowledge, not men. It was
You gotta be real. Okay, we gotta make this real. The Bible's a real book. We're tired of fairy tales. The angels came down and give these women knowledge. That just means the white man gave women welfare. He gave them knowledge to be free and sexualized and prostituted and put into subjection based on trying to get our attention. But God has his plans. So screw the devil's plans. So don't you get it foolish with your angelic talk and this and this. We're talking reality here. We're rebuking all these evil spirits no matter who they are, because they have no power.
because they were sleeping with them. So they became one. They gave birth to these beings. Now, if you give birth to a 30-foot being, what does that make you? You're the queen. You're the queen of everything.
There you go. And I met one of them already. So God has took me to meet them, and I know the son is gonna be very big man, tall man, because the mother is like a beast in her. I seen the beast in her, but she couldn't take me because I'm a light. So she hated me for the fact that she couldn't take me. But good thing I never slept with her after the beast entered. That's how God works.
Thing.
God,
Because look at your offspring. Your offspring is ruling everything. So you queen ruler. So the women were empowered. What up to the men? So God's like, no, they've reversed the entire roles of creation. I got to destroy this. But as it was in the days of Noah, what's happening now?
Oh my God.
Even every superhero movie now, they just told me that the Silver Surfer's a woman. I'm like, man, they just gonna make everything a woman.
They're trying to make Jesus Christ.
As Jesus a woman. Well, something. but I'm saying that to say, just like the Bible said.
Oh my gosh.
We are seeing the days.
Well, we've already seen it. And by the way, the Spirit of Christ already came and did the atonement in Tupac Shakur. His name means Shakur, meaning the Comforter. That's what these fools don't realize, why Satan hunted him so much, why the feds hunted Tupac so much. The words he said, everything he said, is already beat the curse. It's just a matter of time now till the coming down of all imaginations, foolishness, and cast it down of our hater, a brethren that says he's part of us, but he's not. That means these folks. Not all not all skin folk is kinfolk. Don't ever believe that.
Noah repeat itself. And so all that was going on then is happening now. They just created some wolves, through genetics. They brought back a species that had been extinct. And we've seen this movie before, Zeke.
Yep.
This is Jurassic World.
Absolutely.
I mean, first you bring a wolf back. Then you bring a dinosaur back. And then it's Pet Cemetery. You're going to bring Granny back.
No, this is scary.
We know how this ends. And so that's what I'm saying. This is the days of Noah repeating itself and all this stuff.
And it's not only the days of Noah, the days of Sodom and Gomorrah, the days of Babylon, Neo, the days of Noah, and all these days are all culminating into the last conclusion to take out the wicked forever. And then cometh the judgment of our community, and then the kingdom. And then we rule the whole world, putting these other communities into subjection, teaching them the true word, and no more demons around. For 1,000 years of peace on earth.
Through the hip-hop message, God has shown me how all this stuff works. And I've been talking about it for 20 years.
I got to ask a question, because to me, this was the part for me that I was just like, man, I don't even know. When we started talking about, because the story starts with you dealing with and rightly dividing what you're singing gospel. Now let's talk.
Never again will vision of the night exist. That means these white folks, Aleister Crowley, wackos, they will never exist again. It will just be a vision of the night, because that's what God said, not my words. So don't you come at me with your dead spirit.
About that. Because, some would say like, hey, leave gospel alone. Or we got Christian hip hop.
And these dead black
and
folks
Christian
that
hip
don't wanna
hop
come to the light.
Like you were saying, it's about the spirit that's in it, or the spirit that's about it. Is Christian hip hop something that we need to throw away?
Solve for X, where X equals...
Stupid ass commercials. What we need to do is bring all our music into a commercial state of advertisement against the imaginations of the wicked, and cast them down, and bring good imaginations, good communications, exalt good manners. Bad communication corrupts good manners.
Hip hop, let's talk about that. I'm not saying throw away the guys and throw away all of their intentions. They just need to be taught.
Exactly.
They need to be taught. Many of them are talented, many of them make good music, but mimicking the world, copying the world, trying to be the Christianized version of what you've seen, it first it causes you to have to listen to that. Then it causes you to have to idolize that person to the point to where you want to be like them. And then hip hop in itself can't have the title of Christian.
Talk about it. Talk about that.
If the hip hop subculture is rooted in false god worship, ancestral worship, rooted in degradation and rooted in deviant behavior from its inception, then we don't take it and make it Christian. We sing unto the Lord a new song. We make our own thing. And I'm not saying rap.
The Song of Moses, that's the new song. Because the Song of the Lamb will be taught to us. That's what the missing piece is. And many of you did not listen to Moses back in the day. You will not listen to Moses now. So God has a plan to bring the revolution without any notice.
I like some rap.
Yeah.
Christian rap. But I'm not going to ever want to be a part of anything that is hip hop.
Yes.
I don't care what you put in front of it. Because, and we got the fruit now. You know, back when I used to say that, the Christian hip hoppers used to, you know, give me a hard time. We have the fruit of it now. It ain't been fruitful. It's ridiculous because now we're seeing the Christian hip hoppers are basically, a lot of them are basically bootleg versions of the secular guy. So you're not Quavo, you the, you know, you look like him, you sound like him, you act like him, you on the stage like him, but you're not him, you're the Christian version. You know, and so that has to stop, but it's the same reason hip hop has such an impact on the inner city. These are the guys I'm talking about are fatherless. If you don't have a father as an example of how to be, you're gonna outsource that.
I'm about to walk off.
What? You're gonna outsource it. And when you outsource it, you're gonna have to pick someone to show you. You know, I tell
Mama sent me to go play with the drug dealers. The king already said everything in the word. If you don't know who I'm talking about, then you're a clown. Or you don't believe nothing but your own two hands full of crap. Mama sent me to go play with the drug dealers. That means go learn, but don't learn their ways. Go learn how to topple the whole game down. Because they are just all high in the playground and being taught by death with these cheap little magic tricks.
all the time with the hair thing, man. You know, we wake up on Saturday morning, we knew what time it was. Get your stuff. It's time to go to the barber shop. Wow. We go to the barber shop, get a haircut. Why? Because our daddy's hair is cut. Ooh. We don't look like our daddy. That's the guy I'm watching working. That's the guy I'm watching feed me. That's the guy I'm watching do, you know, X, Y, and Z. That's who I want to be like. When you don't have that, you outsource it. And depending on who you pick, especially if you're a rapper, you begin to outsource, you know, a hip hopper, and then you fashion yourself.
No, pick Tupac. No matter what, that brother beat the curse, okay? He atoned. People gotta understand, he survived 94 shooting for a reason. He Lazarus himself, only to show you guys the atonement, only to come back as the most remembered face. Even Michael will be back with him. But you guys will understand the story because he will be teaching the story in ways that all knees will bow. All eyes on me.
Like him.
Let me drive through the light.
Ain't nothing new here.
Try to cross the line. If only we could stop the time.
Look at these guys.
The Wooble sent me some crochet kits
They do all this music that we know how to do best to bring out heaven on earth. But they do it in a way where they're trying to bring goodness to themselves, but they don't understand. Satan is the wackest musician, bro. He has no musical skills. He's whack.
out, and I've never used a kit like this before, so I'm really excited.
Comparing musical skills is like comparing magic to miracles. White people do magic. They're fools. They don't understand miracles. God does miracles, and he's a black man that is not foolish as the black people you see. Don't get it wrong. It's not black or white. It's all about us, the children of the light.
See how it goes. Of course, I had to pick Fred the dinosaur. He is adorable. So it looks like the kit comes with all of the yarn that you need for the project.
So it's almost like, yeah, I want to give glory to God, but it's too much self being glorified to give glory to God. You know, this is your path. You want to be like somebody, and God wants you to be who you are.
Ooh. And now it's making sense. The evil intention of the disembodied spirits that came in to destroy the structure and the function of the original family was to displace the man, right? And the scripture says that if you read in Genesis 6, I believe, it says, was it Genesis 6? I believe? I don't remember. Genesis 6 says they were the heroes of old, or the great men.
Men of renown.
Men of renown.
Men of old, men of renown. That's
so
Genesis 6.
In the house, my father that looks to God, my father that honors God, is the hero that points me to God.
There you go.
Now, if I don't have a hero that points me to God, then I'm looking for a hero.
You're outsourcing one. And that's what hip hop was. It was created on the basis of outsourcing. It ministered to inner city kids. Yeah, that didn't have an identity. It gave them identity.
Enters Tupac. You get it? No matter what. The hate you give little kids fucks everyone. That's thug life. These people that ain't seen the Bible come to life, they're just in the church made by a white man, and they keep acting like they're in fear of some stupid death that don't exist. Like the economy.
Crazy thing is the identity it gave them, they didn't know they were mirroring their very fathers that were in prison.
Oh my gosh, just like the boy dancing.
Yes. You doing exactly what your father that's locked away is doing. You look like him, you acting like him, you got his manner, everything. Because that's what hip hop was rooted in. It was just rooted in that street. It created that street culture that made bad good and good bad.
That's the important part. That made bad good and good bad. And you hear this in the language, in the DNA of it. And this is, I'll just tell you this. I used to be a rapper. I'm just tell you straight up.
All right.
I used to be a rapper. And so that's why it probably affected me so much, because at the time I had come out. I was a good rapper.
Okay.
And I ended up going into spoken word. That's where I kind of really took off. But I was a rapper. And when I gave my life to the Lord, I started off with battle rap. And battle rap is one of those things that feeds you and your ego so much. I enjoy wordplay and all of that stuff. But one thing I could not understand is, how do you divide yourself from tearing someone down, lifting yourself up? Hip hop is not good outside of that. And so like the culture of it. And so you literally have to be anti the culture of hip hop in rap to exist.
Yeah.
And how many of y'all want to do that?
Yeah. Very few. I know some. Very few.
Very few.
Because you basically cut your promotional legs off.
So what? The best part is to be anti-hip-hop in these days. Believe me, it's not hip-hop as we know it. It's not hip. Be anti. Because hip light is a new way of music. Not hip-hop, hip light. Cancel the hop.
Get an assessment for UTIs, cold sores, pink eye, and more.
Makes you sleepy. Go back to sleep.
So, now you won't be hailed, or you won't be promoted, or, you won't make it. You won't get to play in any reindeer games because you got a red nose. You know what I mean? And so that's why a lot of people don't dare do it. A lot of rappers come to me like Nicodemus.
So, that's right. No reindeer games. That means the red-nosed rapper was Pac, because he killed the whole the reindeer games. So no matter what, he's Rudolph, so to speak, in a sense. When he was on Earth, that's nothing. He was just a man. But when he becomes a god, we will all realize these other clowns were so weak with their raps and their ways that God had to confound them in their own time, in their own music, including Eminem and the Wahalas.
Night. Slide in my DMs, whatever they say. And they wanna talk. And I'm the type, I talk. I don't tell nobody. We can talk because I want to help, not hinder. So I don't have to tell anybody, but they'll come and they'll ask me questions like, man, how do I do this? And how can I, do this? Because I believe what you're saying about hip hop.
So that's the kind of what's being misconstrued. Some may think that you're at war with those that are in music.
No, I'm at war with the devil. I'm the leader of the band at our church. I play every Sunday before I preach. I play in the band. We have a 12-piece band. I play keys at the church. I'm a producer. I love music.
No,
Everybody does that. Like, it's like, that's the guy that hates music.
God.
I love music. We got albums.
Music.
I have albums.
Not, I love music.
I have a record company.
Be careful.
All that.
Music,
I love it.
all music and music.
And I can help people with that. I can help you know how to do it. There's a part of music that glorifies, there's the biggest part of what we do is to bring glory and honor to God.
Come on.
But the gift he's given us is fashioned by our own talent. What we put in it is how talented we are. You call for the skillful, that person has to get skilled. So there's a part of us that has to dedicate ourselves to be better, to be good. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with being good. There's nothing wrong with practicing. There's nothing wrong with it as long as God is getting the glory and not.
That's right. There you go. And these cops with these sirens all over the place, it's all about witchcraft. This is why they do what they do. They call it safety. My ass. Rolling around doing some kind of, sound synchronization with their ways of pretending, oh, we have to get through the streets, so do it every so often. Don't do it so continuously.
From what you're playing and singing, but your whole life. He has to get the glory for your whole life for what you do to count. And that's what people don't realize. They want to separate that and be like, yeah, I'm going to give God this. Well, who did that? Isaiah 14:11, that's the devil. He's giving music and up there, but then he's side talking, I want to be like the Most High.
Our jobs are like a calling. We're on it. Let's go get started.
Very nice.
Hey, if you're a 7 or 8 figure entrepreneur, this is for you. I'm hosting a private 2-day mastermind with 3 absolute powerhouses. First of all, we have...
No, it's not calling.
And so if we're going to do it, then our whole life has to glorify God for it to be right. So it's okay when somebody say, man, that was good. And I tell people, them stank faces you make when you hear certain chords. I make those. Like, man, ooh, the most ugly. I want to hear those chords and I want them to be great. I want you to show me how to do that. Is that going to bring some what to me? Yes. People going to be like, that dude can play. Well, that's the dude God wants to come and give him glory and praise. He said, call for the skillful musician. What is skillful? Why was he calling people chief musician? Do you know what chief musician means? It means that's the best one. Wow. So, it's the devil wanted this confusion about it. He wanted us to not understand it to the point to where we don't know what we're doing when we do what we do. Because that way he can come in and cause confusion. And then we don't know, man, am I glorifying me? Should I get this good? Am I this? And we don't know that God wants all of it.
And you see, that's the difference with Tupac and Diddy. These are 2 characters that God used one and the devil used the other. And you know who's who. So y'all get it. Y'all don't get it. Y'all are just clowns in a fairy tale trying to mysticism everything, pretending that, who we say is Satan ain't Satan. It's the nation. America specifically in this is the leader. And Donald Trump is already engulfed in that. So he is the king of Babylon.
We're able to do for his glory and his honor. And whatever we do, whether it's playing music or whether it's picking up trash on the street in a trash truck or whether it's delivering goods or whether you working, whatever we do, he wants to get the glory, but not from what we're doing, but from who we're being. Human being. He created human beings, not human doings. Most musicians are human doings. I'm doing this for this, for the check, or I'm doing this. I'm gonna go do this R&B. I'm gonna go do this. Well, you're outside of what God created you for and what he allowed you to get that ability for.
Give the glory to the Most High.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So I think so the issue is really about, oh my gosh, because I want to talk a little bit about this. There have been a lot that has happened musically in the Christian genre where
Let's move it forward.
100%.
The Lord of the Rings Woobles collab is finally here. You can learn to crochet the Lord of the Rings characters with this new box set.
We just talked about that earlier. Yes, 100%.
And so one friend told me, he was like, you got to learn to bring Jesus into your decompression. If letting down your hair, metaphorically, looks like leaving Jesus out, then there's something wrong with your relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
Speak to that.
Yeah, there's a biblical example I'm going to use, and that's Elijah. So Elijah does probably the greatest feat, one of the greatest feats in the Bible at Mount Carmel. I mean, he shows out.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, so arrogant, and I mean, he was like, that's not wet enough. Wet it again.
Yeah.
And then when they were trying to invoke their gods, he was like, what happened to them? Are they laid? Are they, what? I mean, he was just, Elijah was out of complete control in that scene. And he's like, just do it, man. Just wet it up. Then he calls fire down. Then after he calls fire down, he said, now all of them, kill every one of these fires. I mean, he's just going in and in and in and in. And then Jezebel threatens him, and he takes off, and God brings him to this cave. And this is where God introduces what you just said, where he, God fed him with the raven, all those things. But then God says, okay, go to the mouth of the cave and look out.
Yeah.
And then God just puts on
a show.
Just right there. Just boom, bam, just thunder, lightning, mountains collapsing, everything. But the Bible kept saying, but God wasn't in it. Okay, so, yeah, there's this big boom ability of our God. But where was God in that moment? A still, small voice. Like, I'm here with you. You see all that stuff, but I'm here with you. So even when you're afraid of Jezebel, which he was afraid of her, I'm here with you. When you want to put the mantle down, when you want to just go somewhere, because remember, he was praying to die. He was like, God, just kill me. No, man, let's chill together. Let's talk. Let me be here in that moment. Let me be here in that weakness. In your weakness, let me be here.
Amen.
And
welcome God every time in my weakness.
Easier said than done, because we're human beings.
He gives me strength.
But that's what God longs for. He just wants to be there. We all got weak moments.
And that means God of the Bible. That means study the Bible and understand which brother represents opening the book in his music, rather than you studying his words and saying those are just curse words. So what? He showed you life and death. And many of you pretend you choose death. That shows you your stupidity in the word.
Man, we're trying to be, we go through periods, all those things, but man, that still voice is the time when we are so quiet and chilling and just let me put the ministry, let me put it all down and just sit over here.
Oh my God.
And then who's over there with us? Still God. Still God.
And it's funny that we think that God is more real for us when we're performing for him.
Yeah. That's what he wanted to show Elijah. It's like, I can do that stuff.
Yeah.
But man, I'm here when that stuff isn't happening. So don't be that guy. Don't be about that guy all the time. Be you. And let me be with you. I made you a being, a human being. That means you don't have to be doing for me to love you.
Gosh.
That's right, y'all.
I'm sorry. That's, and you know, it reminds me, that made me tear up a little bit. I always tell the story about my son. When I first had my son, I had 3 girls and I had my boy. But my boy, you know, a reflection of me, when I first held him, in that moment I first held him, just still with just dried from the blood and all that. Like, in that moment, I already loved him. I already was proud of him. I already was excited. I was everything. I already had plans for him. And all he was just being my son.
That's it. That's all he had.
He wasn't good or bad yet.
Yep.
He wasn't smart or dumb. Nothing. He ain't showed me any of his talents. I didn't know if he was going to be tall or short, nothing. All he had to do was just come out and be my son. And I think the fullness of understanding this relationship with God is not to say that we're not going to do with him and walk for him and serve and all of that stuff. But the place in which we do that from is a full place.
Yes, sir.
It's a loved place. Like, if I know that.
Solve for X, where X equals better grades and more confidence in math.
Dad, are you trying to get me to say I excel?
Yep.
Seriously, though, algebra is finally starting to make sense.
You're going to ace this test.
iExcel, the learning program 16 million students trust. Try it today at iexcel.com.
Create your custom insurance package with the only unbundled home insurance in Canada. That means protecting only what's most important to you. Oh, and saving money in the process. Get your policy in 5 minutes at squareone.ca.
Man, like my son, if he really only knew that I loved you 100% at that point. I didn't wait. I wasn't 10% when you was born. And then when you showed me that you could get straight A's, then you got to 60. But then when you hit the football team, then it's 99. And that's how we think. And so when we're not, and then we start projecting our relationship with everybody else. When I'm working and making money for the family, then I'm the man, I'm the dad, but then when I'm not performing and nobody's liking me and nobody's saying my name, then I'm nobody. This is why you just made an illustration, a reference to say, but who are you off the stage? Who are you when you're not performing?
Yeah, exactly.
And literally what's happening is, you said outsourcing fathers. And I think spiritually we outsource our identity. So when they take away, or when we lose the gift, I saw this the New Edition story. The dude said, man, when we stopped performing and I wasn't getting the high of the people celebrating me, I had to go to drugs because I needed something to replicate the high that I felt there. Without that high, who am I?
That's right. That's right.
So I got to find it somewhere.
That's right. Yeah.
Just get high.
Yep. That's the difference to me between Christian hip hop and Christian rap. The difference is hip hop is glorifying what they have, what they can do, who they are, my money, my jewelry, my car, my house, all of that, doing stuff. Or, a Christian artist or a singer or whatever that glorifies God and gives God credit for anything they receive and don't try to take it from him. That's what separates the two. That's what's so, to me, toxic about the hip hop culture as a whole, because it glorifies replacements.
They know who they follow.
It glorifies stand-ins. It glorifies stuff that should have never been there.
So I think there are some people that are well-meaning and well-intending that are in that space, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they've just attached hip-hop ignorantly as if hip-hop just means rap, not realizing,
100%.
No, there's a mindset attached. There's a spiritual component. There's a culture that's attached to it.
There's a spirit attached to it. I've been addressed by the spirit.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, I was at a guy's house, and this is in my book, Truth Behind Hip Hop book.
Oh, we need the link.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
What do you mean by that?
Oh, I was at a guy's house, and this is in my book, Truth Behind Hip Hop book.
Oh, we need the link.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I'll give you the spiritual truth inside hip hop. Before truth and after truth, and biblical truth. Spiritually, from writer R. Moses B.
We were dealing with a demon and his wife. And I was, dealing with the demons and his wife. And after we had dealt with the demons and his wife, he manifested. And so he sat back on the chair. He had a toothpick in his mouth, and he sat back on the chair when the demon manifested in him, and he looked at me. And I looked at him. I said, "You know who I am?" He said, "Yeah, I know who you are."
That's why hip-hop demon looked like Diddy. Toothpick in his mouth. Idiots.
I said, "Who am I?" He said, "You chosen." I said, "Chosen for what?" He said, "To deal with me." Plain as day. I've learned you don't talk to demons like that. You got to be really careful. All that, but this is back in my days when I just didn't know no better, which sometimes it's better to not know better. But you try to get away, So, but the demon, he looked at me and I said, "Well, what's your name?" He said, "Hip Hop." My wife, that's why I bring up Lacey. She's right there. She'll tell you. He said hip hop. No. Yeah, he said hip hop. And it was the most arrogant. Now, you have to know this guy. This guy was a timid, quiet. Oh, no. Tell him, I need to bring her over. Yeah. You got a mic for her? Yeah, that's really. But this guy was shy, timid, he was mousy. And then when this spirit manifested, he was looking at me and so.
Just like there's two Michael Jacksons. That's what created hip hop. That's right. The Michael Jackson is the best. The early Michael, the black Michael. But the white Michael is the worst. The late Michael, which is the hop. You see the correlation in one man. That's why the king had to separate it. And the Shakur comfort had to come through.
So, I'm about to cast you out of this guy. He said, "Well, when you do, I'm going to tear this whole apartment up." He said, "I'm going to tear everything up." I said, "No, you won't." I said, "No, you won't." So I started praying to cast him out. And he got up and was about to lunge at me. Oh, Lord. Wife here. And I said, "Angels." I said, "Angels of God." I said, "Just grab him." He froze like this. And I said, "Now put him on the ground."
That's it, folks. Thank you for listening. Hopefully you recorded it. Thank you. Yes. Look out for the book. Subscribe. The book is coming. The spiritual truth behind